Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we're getting into another Lego set review, and this is the Boutique Hotel. This is part of the modular line, and I believe I want to say that this one came out, I'm not really too sure, I want to ballpark and say 2022, I think, because I think after this became the Jazz Club, and somewhere after that was also the museum, I think, so I could be wrong. The one that was for 2025 was the Tudor Corner, which I reviewed on this channel, which is actually the first set I bought. Now what's interesting with this set right here, this is set 10297 with 3,066 pieces. Now what's interesting is a couple things as far as my perspective when it came to getting this. One, I remember when I first seen this on sale, before I actually bought the Tudor Corner, and I saw it on sale on Amazon for about $160. It was on like a Prime Day. I put it in my cart. It was either Prime Day or Black Friday. I put it in my cart. I hesitated. I got rid of it. And then I was like, oh man, later on I was like, I should have bought it, but I was like, but I was into a couple other things. I wasn't ready to start really diving heavy into like kind of a city build kind of stuff like that. And then funny enough, a year later, it goes back on sale, and this time I get it for that same price. But I say to myself, I'm definitely getting it. You know, I'm throwing it in the cart, I'm paying for it. And if I feel like it, I could just return it if I didn't want it. But nonetheless, I was in the vibe to keep it now because I already had my first modular set now. And so this to me kind of now goes hand in hand with that. It kind of took one to kind of get me confirmed that I wanted to be in it, which was Tudor Corner. And then now I purchased this. And what's funny also too, from a second aspect of things, is I've always loved the idea of a hotel setup, but I guess I always wanted something a lot more simpler when I was buying some of the city sets, and I wanted something simpler. But in the grand scheme of it, this kinda is the only real modern hotel that you can buy. And like I said, at a normal price, it is pretty expensive. Not to say it's not worth it or not, but if you catch it on sale, it's a definite must buy, especially at $160, where it normally goes for $230. At $160, you pretty much are taking off like $60 worth. That is amazing. Sorry, $70 worth. That is amazing. So yes. And just for the piece count alone, that's worth the buy. Even if you didn't want to build it, it's worth buying just for the piece count alone. So we are going to get into this here. I want to bring this down a little bit. It's very big, so it's hard to see everything, but these are the figures that come in it. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 7 figures. Now the Tudor Corner that, like I said, I previously reviewed, I want to say had a total of 8 regular figures, and I think 9 if you include and I could be wrong, I'm not counting at the moment, so but including of the what do you call it, it's got a little bit of dust on it because I had this set for a little minute now that I've been waiting to put together. I think it was, I got this set Prime Day was either, it was like late May or June. So I had this set for a little while now. I haven't had a chance to put it together. That's why it's a little bit dusty. But the other one, I think it has the, what do you call it? In the Tudor Corner, it has like a suit. Like, so in the haberdashery store, there's a suit. So that counts as one of the minifigures. So, but yes, I think that one, without including that, I want to say is 8. I could be wrong. And so this one has 7. So it was a little less, came out before it, but it's definitely a very nice build, a lot of detail. Like I said, really nice hotel, gives you a substantial amount in it. You could see down here, got a couple of, I mean, you can't see super well, but we're gonna get into it more so as let me change the angle of things so we can kind of see this a little bit better. So over here, we have the front desk. We've got one of the beds, someone sitting down with a chocolate on it. We've got the, one of the other rooms. They got a tub. So it's really nice. They got the, over here, this is the, it's it's like a, not a museum, but it's like a fine art store. It says it right on the box there, right up here. It's a fine art store, El Cubo. So, and then in addition, you have a little eatery area. Let me zoom out up here, which is connected to the hotel. So I'm guessing it's like outside dining for the hotel, you know, connected with it. So yeah, I like to assume that that's what it is. You know, sometimes you'll have, even though it doesn't have, I don't believe it has any kind of kitchen in it or anything of that sort, but that little kind of dining area probably would also then suffice as the space where you would get your room service, because a lot of times too, that's kind of how things are done. You get the same, like most hotels, you'll have a little restaurant maybe downstairs in the lobby, and that also goes hand in hand with like who provides you the room service food. So I think that's cool. Right here they have it set up with, I believe that is the police station, because I know there's also the detective office, which is different, or private eye. I'm not too sure. I know there's two types of buildings like that, you know, with the Lego modular. And then they have the bookstore. I forget the proper name of it, which is something I actually always kind of wanted, but never had a chance to get. But you know, it doesn't have a lot of details, I don't think, on the inside, but it's still nice that you get that regular house looking thing. But nonetheless, we are gonna jump into this now. Let me see how I want to go about opening this and what side I want to open it from. I think I will do, because I typically do this side, so I will do over here. It is way too big for me to even manage right now. And like always, we're just gonna do a little bit of a bag count. And so even though I only have 2 sets, modular sets, and I don't know if I'm gonna collect a whole lot more, but one thing I will say is, I'm not trying to make a crazy type of city where super big like some people get to, but I just like having certain things, and I mix it with city sets, because that's just my style, to mix it with some city sets, because I really do like a lot of the city sets. I think some of them are really nice. One, for example, that I'm using for, and I did a previous review on this, the Friends Bed and Breakfast, actually could suffice for a more affordable hotel setup if you need one in your town. So this right here normally is the plate. I'm gonna also mention this too. It comes with a gray plate, but I previously did a video on, let me grab that right now, if it's nearby me. Yes, it is. I did a video on this right here. These are Strictly bricks, and they're off-brand. I did a review on these, so you can go check that out. And the gray is not as, this is a dark gray, which won't be as matching as a light gray. But I'm gonna see how well that these things do, because I wanna build on this. If you go back to that video that I did, what I was explaining was how rather than do a mill system or one of those kind of other crazy systems that people get into that gets very costly and expensive, and we can see the color difference here. So it is substantial. That sucks. This is a more natural, like gray that you feel kind of will go with sidewalks, but most of the stuff is being built up on anyway, so it won't matter, versus this darker gray. But they are the same size, and just Legos plates are just very thin. I get it, they do it for affordability, but this is the equivalent of a regular plate size. And so I'm gonna build this on that. So it's the first time I'm gonna do that. I do wanna transfer my Tudor corner onto one of these also. That's gonna be a lot more work because it's already built up. But by starting fresh, this shouldn't be so bad. So I am going to do that mainly because, like I said, the system, if you go back to that video, what I speak on is that rather than doing this expensive Mills plate setup, these are in line with the Rode system. So like I said, I did it in that video where I reviewed these, but essentially this height here of one plate, if you add another plate on it, whether it's like, you know, tiles, and I start tiling this up, 2 plates is the height of one of the Rode plates. So at that point, it's, yeah, a matter of fact, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I think the base level of the Rode plate is 1 plate high, and then the sidewalk part is 2 plates high. I can't remember exactly, or whatever. But the point is that it aligns easier. It aligns a lot more easier and should fit a lot better proportion wise, like matching up with like the levels, the height levels. So that's what I'm gonna go with. Other than that, how many bags do we have here? Let's see. What are we looking at? We got, and so far I've seen the highest is 9, 14, 14 seems to be the highest bag that I've seen. So we're looking at there's more than 14 bags because I see 2 14s, but nonetheless, 14 numbered bags. Like that says 14, and this says 14. So a little bit more than those amount of bags, but nonetheless, this should be fun. I'm pretty excited because I realized also too that not that it's a good thing. This is about 200 pieces less than the Tudor corner, so I'm hoping that this will be a faster build than the other one. And the amount of bags here, numbered at 14. The Tudor corner I think was 20 something, or am I getting that mixed up with my Django Fett UCS? I don't know, but I feel like this looks less intimidating, but we're gonna see. So also too, we have a few things inside the instruction booklet. Normally I would look over this kind of stuff after the fact, but I'm just gonna breeze through this really quickly just to take a quick look. Yes, I have a mess all over the place now, but all right. You might not be able to see this kind of text with it zoomed in like this, but you know, they have the little welcome sign. You have a whole overlay of all the other ones at the time of this build. And that's really about it. So I'm going to read all that kind of stuff later on. It tells you bag 1 to 7 gets you the first ground floor. 8, 9, and 10 are putting together the next top floor. And then 11, 12, 13, 14 is putting up the very top floor of it. So the way they break it down, it feels like once you get past 7, bag 7, the rest shouldn't be that bad. That's pretty much the meat and potatoes of it. So yeah, and then later on, like I said, and you know, at another point in time, I will go about taking apart my Tudor corner and putting that on one of these Strictly Bricks plates. But I will definitely have, you know, as we review this, we'll see how things work on this. I'm hoping it doesn't cause an issue with it being on this type of thing, but I'll find that out when that time comes. So I'm gonna get started in the build. I'll be back with the rest of the review. All right, so I just want to show a quick clip that I started building on this Strictly Bricks base, and so far everything seems okay. The only thing that I'm a little bit worried about, So I'm doing this handheld. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about, if anything, is just the fact that I'm hoping that I don't get warping in any way because of whether it's the quality of the base or the fact that instead of using the normal base, which is thinner than this, probably like half the thinness of this, that, you know, will that cause any kind of issue? But we'll see. But so far, we're just getting started. Okay, so I just wanted to show this really quickly. Started building some more, and now I am getting that warping. And I've only built before to the corner. I don't know if I don't recall that ever happening with that. So maybe the more thinner bases won't have that happen. I'm not too sure. I have had that happen on a thinner base that I bought separately to make the bed and breakfast main Wayne Manor kind of thing that I did before. You could look at that past video for that. But and when I put the bricks layered on top across the line, because I made like a fence, it started to do that on the regular thinner base plates. So I don't know if this will balance out as I do the rest of the build. When I hold both each sides, I don't got it on a tripod right now, but if I hold down both each sides, it could be flat. So I'm not sure, but the positive about this setup, like I said before, is that I should be able to then connect it to a street with, like, say, something like this. And then maybe that could kind of hold it in place a little bit once you start city building. So I'm not sure, but I'm going to go through with it, even though finishing this off, even though I'm not sure how that's going to look at the end. So stay tuned. So one thing that's really interesting here is you have this piece where I'm going to show it here really quickly. You could see how this is how it is, where the studs are, and those studs are there to hold on to this, but being that there's this all flat plates around it is the reason why you can put it at that angle. So when we drop this piece down, which we built up, and it looks weird at first when you're building it up, you can see here in the instructions, and then when you build it down, when you drop it down, it goes right on those studs, and that's how you get that curvature. So I just wanted to kind of film that really quickly. Sorry I don't have my mic in, but just to show how that gets that curvature, which is pretty nice. So I just really wanted to quickly show this because, and I know I don't got my extra lighting on or the mic on right now. I just wanted to show this because I know once the roof gets on, it's going to be hard to get up inside there. That is a piece of art on the wall. It was interesting to build that out. I did this art differently in front of us with the green and the yellow. It's not supposed to look like that, but I just wanted it to be a little bit different and unique. That cube thing was interesting to build together, and that looks cool. You got that little hat over there with the little, like, not like, it's like got a base underneath it. I don't know if you can see that a little bit better, but it's got like a little base and then like the hat on it. So that's why I said it's very cramped. And then obviously you get this little painting thing there, and then the person curator would sit back there. It's a tight squeeze, so where you'd actually have to take that desk up just to actually get it in there. But I just want to show that real quick because once everything's put together, you're not going to be able to see inside there. Hey everybody, we are back with the finished build. Now, first, a couple of things that I want to get out of the way first and foremost. One is that the build, I was correct in saying that after the 7th bag, which was the ground level floor area, everything else got a lot easier after that. So that actually, the build was overall a fun build, but that made it really easier and speed up because at that point, you had 3 bags for the second floor, and then you had four bags for the top and roof. And it just kind of seemed to go fast at that point. So that was enjoyable, at least that the build went quick and was nice and easy. And the other thing I want to get into, and I just wanted to have this frame just so you guys could kind of see the totality of things. And I guess I'll push it back into that frame in a moment, but I want to adjust things a little bit just to kind of focus on the Strictly Bricks base. Now, you could see here, I had did a clip earlier in the video where it's a little bit, it has a little bit of warping going on, I guess, because the way the bricks are making it curl upwards maybe. But here, I guess after you've got it all on it, it doesn't feel so bad. There's a little bit of this in small areas, but overall, it's not bad because the weight of the entire thing brings it down. And I'm glad that it balanced it out a lot more, so I wouldn't be bothered with it, because once I built it up on there, I knew I wasn't going to end up taking it off. But like I said, that is a big benefit to me, because like I said, system wise, and I'm going to always keep reiterating this as long as I'm doing this with the modulars or anything like that, this is a good method or a good option for you to not have to deal with the mills system if you are new to Lego and you want to start building up on city stuff and you want consistency on your levels. That's great, because all the Lego City sets also, if you like to mix and match with this Lego City sets and say the modulars, those are on plates. They're not on base plates. They're on just regular plate height size plates. So they would now match with this height. So it works. Like they'll be a little bit lower than this because this has a layer on top. But if you wanted to throw a layer on top or connect them, you can. Like if you want to put tiles on those, you can. So jumping back into the totality of things after getting all of that out of the way, first I want to also mention that I am really a fan of this spire and how tall that gets. It creates at least an element, and I'm sure some people have a lot of these, you know, obviously modular sets and tall aspects of city sets, but for me, I only have 2 modular sets. And even though this one somewhat is around the same height as the other one based on that tipping point, something about it just looks like it would just stand out in like a city set, just as far as like having that tip tower. So just one of the little architectural details that I really like about this. And I'm gonna bring everything a little closer. I just wanted to kind of get the whole thing in frame at that moment. So just going over a lot of the exterior for the moment, and then we'll go into all the minifigures after the fact. I'll take everything apart and bring all the minifigures outside. But I'm not only am I just a fan of the architecture of this entire set here. Let me move this out the way. But also, what's interesting is, so I bought the Tudor Corner first. That was my first one that I purchased. And I actually feel like of all the sets, not that I know I have all the sets in hand, but I've seen all the other ones by some form, whether it's picture or video or whatever the case is. And I feel that this one actually complements that one best in terms of the style of the architecture. Doesn't seem super modern. And I don't mean that in the sense that the techniques and all aren't modern of the build. I mean the actual design or the architecture language feels like it's a little more vintage, if you will, you know, for lack of a better word. And I feel that goes hand in hand with the Tudor style. So I don't know what this type of style of building is called, but it definitely feels like it goes closer in hand or can match well with the Tudor. So I'm a fan of that. I'm just going to jump into a lot of things because at the same time too, this is a set that's been out for a long time. A lot of people have already reviewed it. So I'm going to kind of take my spin on it. So just jumping on the exterior, I'm going to jump more into the interior, and then I'm going to jump into the figures. I'm going to jump into the minifigures along the way, or maybe at the end or somewhere in the, I don't know. I'm just going to run with it. So the art shop, El Cubo, is supposed to be the cube, which there's a little cube inside there for a decorative piece. Let me see if I can take this whole thing off really quick. Okay. And let's let's try to zoom in here and see what we can get here. So it's not very big, and the cube, I just want to get this out of the way, showing that that cube is supposed to be the icon for the creator sets, I believe it used to be called. I'm not really too sure. It wasn't Creator 3-in-1, but it was, I think they just called it creator sets. I'm not really too sure. We've got other bits of art. That's not how this art on the wall is supposed to look, but I chose to do that on my own, switch it up a little bit. There is also, probably cannot see it that well, there is a hat back there on like a little piece. So it's a little art store. It's not like some huge art gallery, but it is a little art store. And me personally, I do feel like that portion was like an afterthought of the build, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you in a bit what I think that could have been instead. First, what I'm thinking I am going to do is just review the figures really quick, go over them. All right, now these are the minifigures for the set. And I was mistaken because earlier in the video, I had said that the To The Corner had more figures than what I thought. It's 8 figures when you include the mannequin or the little suit, the dressed up suit. It's 7 baseline, and then which equates to equal to this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this does have a good amount of figures. And what's interesting too is that even though this is currently the normal price of it, I'm going to throw a link in Amazon in the description. The normal price of this, it was always $230 most of the time. I've seen it come down to a regular price of $200. I think it may have started at $200 when it first came out, which then would give a little bit balance to the fact that versus the To The Corner, I think it's about 200 pieces less than the To The Corner, and 1 minifigure, even though it's not a usable minifigure, it's 1 minifigure less. So, so with that, you know, maybe that would have made it more balanced out at that time. But nonetheless, jumping into the figures, and for the most part, this is kind of the way that they're built. It's similar to the way that I have them spread out. So here we have the art, either manager, worker, or curator, whichever, or all of the above. And nice little face setup, glasses and everything like that. Don't have a dual expression, which is fine. I feel that when you have the regular yellow faced, you know, minifigures, the standard Lego minifigures, it's not as vital, this is just in my opinion, to have additional face expressions unless it's you know, something that needs to express like an event going on at that place. Like if it looks like a character in that scene should be excited for some reason, then it seems like that would be fitting. I think this is the face that they use for, he has no dual sided face. Obviously you can see here. I think this is the same face they used later on in the set for the, what do you call it again? The Twilight set as like the dad, Bella's dad, because he looks just like that to me, even though this set came out way before that, but that's what I get the impression of when I see this. But here is one of the hotel staff members. Now, one thing people have commented on before is that it would have been nice if they had more staff members for this set. There really is only 2. And I get it, you can't include a ton of figures, and you do have to have figures to cater to each scene. So you can't have really more than maybe 2 figures per area of the hotel or activity going on. So what I mean by that is you have the art location, you're gonna need someone to manage that. You've got obviously the hotel place, but then we're not including customers. So you'll have at least 1 or 2 workers there, but since that's the main thing, you have 2 workers there. And then you have, later on, we'll get to him in a moment, but the guy who has the coffee stand. So at that point, if 7 figures are the more higher norm now, and I say that because the older sets I don't think had that many figures normally, then that means that you can't really dedicate too many people to working in each store section. So if you have something that's got three store sections, you need at least 3 minifigures dedicated to those stores, maybe more. So for example, with the to the corner, you have 2 people for the restaurant section. You've got 1 person for the clothing store, and then you have 1 person for the clock store or the clockmaker. That's 4 right there out of the 7 usable figures. And then the other 3 are just people who are, are part of the scene, but they aren't actually, workers. They're just inhabiting the scene. So the same thing here. You have essentially 4 people who are working the location and 3 people who are guests. So coming into the first guest here, and it even says it in the description of the character that since this is a backpacker, that she's trying to stay on a budget, doing her traveling stays on a budget. So she's staying in one of the more basic, it says, how do they call it again? Economy rooms is what they say on it. So you could see her shirt there, a nice little hoodie. She's got the backpack on. She does have a double-sided face, which is interesting because since she's staying, this is what I said before about someone who's expressing some kind of thing about them. Oops. And you can see the back of the hoodie there. So a little hood there, which is cool. But as I was saying, having a second face becomes only important when you need to express something that's taking place in the scene. So in this case, the scene here is sleeping. You are at a hotel, you go to sleep. So having that option makes sense on figures who will probably be sleeping, where somebody who is, say, like the art curator, it's not as needed to have a dual-sided face because that's not an activity that they're going to be doing, nothing out of the ordinary or specific. Now this guy, because he has the type of hat, you can't give him a second expression either. But he is the accountant is what they list him as. And it says he's here to actually, I think, price some art or evaluate some art. So that's kind of cool. They give a little backstory for everybody coming around here. And he looks nice, just your dressed up kind of business guy. I like his hat. And in his little briefcase, he's got his little calculator to do his little workings. So you have that. Let's pray that he's not the other kind of accountant like Ben Affleck, because if so, he's got a handful of skills that come along with him. Now, the next person is classified as the Globetrotter, is what they call her as, and says she has to travel the world. So you can see her here, dressed up, just very casual. She also has a different side face, but instead of sleeping, it's more like I'm on vacation with my sunglasses, which is cool. She has a little umbrella that she comes with as well. And she has her suitcase. So it's funny because all of the people staying at the place have some sort of kind of travel wear. The backpacker has her backpack. The accountant has his briefcase, which, maybe in theory you would assume he has clothes in there, a little bit of clothes in there as well if he could fit, but he's probably just there for the day because he's kind of in and out, just here for business and staying the night, and he's on his way. And then obviously the Globetrotter has a full-on suitcase because she is, and it's the type that looks like these would be wheels. She is really kind of staying and making the most of it. And he's staying in the economy room. You could tell by the photos. They don't really describe what rooms they're in, but you could tell by the photos of the box. And she's staying in the luxury suite at the top. So she's the one who's doing it fancy. And then here we have the coffee guy. Now he doesn't have an additional face. You can see him there. He's got a little bit of scruff on his face. Glasses. The coffee branding up there. His little apron. It's a very simple coffee build. What's funny is this, I had to go look at a photo of coffee machines, because sometimes like when I see different coffee machine builds, one thing that I sometimes forget is that I think to myself, sorry about that. I think to myself sometimes that this is where the coffee comes out of, and it's not. Those are the handles, and the part above it is where the coffee drops down. So sometimes, you know, that's something I just want to make sure of and look at a photo of that. So it's like, okay, because I was going to try to modify something a little bit to where I push this a little further back, so these spouts would go right above it, but they're not spouts, they're handles. So yeah, a little interesting thing to just kind of learn. I know I would see that all the time at coffee stores, but like you just sometimes don't fully pay attention unless you're a major coffee drinker. But a nice little build. And the awning here is supposed to, it says it in the instructions, it's supposed to be a reflection of the cafe corner from, I think that's the first set or one of those earlier sets. So it's like that guy came to this part of town to have his express cart, but he's still from that company. So that's kind of cool, giving a little bit of backstory to it. And this I just wanted to pull out since it's one of the things that are not attached. You know, this is for the whole luggage thing. And will luggage fit on it? No, it won't. But, you know, still it's an option. Now, I think his thing probably would. Let's give it a shot. And her backpack probably would too. Okay, yeah, so his thing fits, but the big luggage does not. You could kind of fit it on this side. Okay, you kind of fit it on that side. So there you go. At least it can fit over in some way, some capacity it can. So that's nice. I'll put that aside. So getting through that there, we're gonna jump into the rest of the build in the back, starting with the ground floor. So the one thing I was going to mention before about this here, the art shop, was that I actually feel like what I was mentioning as an afterthought, and I wanted to get into it after we got to this part of the video, is I honestly feel that this, to me, I'm like, I'm iffy on it. It's cool. It's an art store. I'm not particularly a fan because I feel like that space could be used for something more. But what I will say is that if you wanted to change it up, all the pieces are needed for you to turn that into a little coffee shop. And you could take this apart and throw that in there and make it a little coffee shop. There is obviously the desk there, and you kind of move things around, take some of the art out. Or if you want to have some of the art still on the wall while it's like a coffee shop, you could do that. Something that I contemplated maybe down the line. You have like a little kind of fountain here. This is obviously for decoration, where you got the whole fountain thing going on. It spouts from here. It would land in there. It's really just decorative. The steps are done really nice. And this right here is supposed to be like it's supposed to be kind of like a poster board of different things that reflect the past modular sets. So yeah. Now this whole area here, this little dining area outside, I think it's kind of nice that they have an outside little bar going on for the hotel. The only negative I will say, and you got to kind of use your imagination, is the fact that and let me bring this overhead, is the fact that, and let me try to move this tree out the way, that I could just do that, is the fact that you have to use your imagination, connecting that there is no food place going on. So maybe this is just a bar just for drinks. In that case, they could have like maybe stuff underneath it. That's fine. Underneath the bar area. And obviously you'd have to get one of the staff to come and work that, because there's only 2 staff members. So once again, that's a thing where it's like there's limited amount of staff members to work it. But it's a cool, nice little setup. They utilize the space, so I'm glad for that. But yes, I've heard some people comment on the fact that, there is no really place, like there's no kitchen, this and that. I will say, as we jump into the inner area of the build here, that a person can Let me just try to get a little bit more light here. So I'm sorry about that. There we go. Hope that helps a little bit. Now, a person could use that space underneath the stairs to actually do a lot of different things. Now, there's not a whole lot of room down there, but you could actually turn that into a bathroom because there is no common space bathroom in this set. Just the suite, the top suite has a bathroom. And I get it. Sometimes it's like, you can't do everything. So I get that, but you can turn that to a bathroom super easy. It really wouldn't even take much. You can get a wall with a door, and get one of those toilet pieces, those little round white bowl pieces. And you honestly can set that up with just a handful of pieces. You can even set up a nice sink inside there too. And all that could be done externally, meaning like you don't have to build it into the walls. You could just literally build it up and then drop it right in. Even you don't even have to take away the floor paneling. You can actually build it up over the floor paneling with, like, say this is seven studs long, and then it goes back 4 studs back. So you could have a plate that is like maybe a 6 stud plate, 6x4, and then you could drop it right in there, build the bathroom on it, and then have like a wall against a portion of it, and then just drop it right in there like that. So that wouldn't even be a problem. You'd be able to do that. Which, thinking about that now, I might even try to do something like that, just to kind of, like I said, build it up and just see how that would look. But nonetheless, that's something that you could do in that area, or you could make it a little eating area, like a little, another, taking something like this bar piece here, and then you would actually be able to take something like it, or you could remove that same one if you wanted to and put it right there, and it would, in theory, work in that same kind of space. Let me see if I could. Now it broke off a little bit, the other piece of it, but nonetheless, let me see. Yeah, so you could see there how something like that would kind of look. Obviously it's lopsided, but a person would be able to, I'll pull it out more so it could be a little bit more seen, but something like that in the corner. So that way, when people come in, there's a spot. But that's just, I love when sets have available space that you can do certain things with. And that is something that you can clearly do that with, or build a separate one. You don't have to take this one, but build a little separate kind of little food area set up there. You could do that. So I think that that's pretty cool. You've got the clock over there. You got the chair set, which you obviously can see. You've got the keys over here. You've got the, and I'm gonna try to take this off so we can get a little bit more in there. So we've got the key set up. That is the desk. Nice old school phone, which is kind of cool too. And then the names on here, they say inside the book that these should reflect people from other sets, other modular sets. I really don't know. Sorry that it's upside down. The tile work is really nice. Makes it look like it's a nice carpet. You got the nice couch there. Unfortunately, you cannot sit 2 people on that couch as is. It looks really big, but because Lego arms get inside the way of each other, you can't sit 2 people right next to each other there. But nonetheless, it's nice. You can see the whole exit area from here. I'll come back a little bit and you can see behind here as well. You got the dumpster, which has a croissant on it. But what's funny is that this is supposed to be a croissant, they say, from the one of the, I think it's the Corner Cafe or one of those other places, or the restaurant or whatever, that has a croissant on the top of it that would normally be as a like kind of like a sign, and it's white. So this one talks about it being a moldy croissant inside this specific one. So you got these other areas you can see here from the other angles. I really like that little brick built fire hydrant. And so here we go, jumping into the second floor. You walk those steps upwards and then you find yourself over here. I think I'm just gonna have to take this off right away because there's no way I can get a good angle on this in general. So you can see here the steps leading up. Let me open this up. I don't know if that helps with some of the lighting, but you can see the stairwell coming up this way as it spirals up. And this is the typewriter. So this is where the accountant would be in this section. And you could tell from the pictures once again, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But also inside this room, you have this cabinet, which is pretty nice. I'm gonna take it right off. So it's trying to keep these open. And of course it doesn't want to stay open. Let me not have it facing that way so gravity is not going against me. And so it's got that little bar back there, like you want to hang clothes on it. And in theory, if you had like one of those pieces to hang a clip on there and then could put an upper torso on there, you could kind of do that. But you'd only probably be able to just fit the one. But yes, so it's a nice little wardrobe setup. And everything here has that classic look because it's all like boutique hotel. So it has that older vibe to it, which is pretty cool. Classy kind of style, vintage style. You got the nice bed there set up, and the beds here look nice. You got the little side desk with the lamp, old school lamp style. Looks really nice. Got the chair over here, and it spins to look out the window area over there. And like I said, we got the little desk here for doing work with the little lamp. So that looks really nice, and the typewriter is done really nice too with unique printing. And all of modular sets always have printing with no stickers, at least that I've seen so far. I haven't seen that to be the case otherwise. Now that room seems to be a little bit bigger than this room. So you could tell both of these rooms are a little different. Like this one that's like the basic room, and this is like the step up room from that. So you do get more space and whatnot, more storage. This room here, it's got the one little desk. You can sit at the desk if you need to do something, but it's a smaller desk. Little carpet area right there. And then you have the little dresser to store some of your clothes. The tiny desk lamp is there as well in the bed, which looks less of a premium bed than the green one we were just looking at here. But this is where the backpacker stays because she actually gets a balcony on this one. So I guess that's one premium feature. And she's actually standing on the balcony, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the photos. So you see the nice railing going across there. So yes, and flags for the hotel, which is cool. And it's funny because I actually seen a hotel with this same vibe in a big city before, in an area that you wouldn't even think something like that would exist. So it's very interesting. And it's funny because I've seen that hotel before, and then I seen a YouTuber who was doing a kind of walkthrough of this particular city area. And he was like, I stayed at this place, which is kind of nice, even though it's in a spot where like, very, a lot going on, a lot of foot traffic, a lot going on. And, and not necessarily like an expensive area. So it was kind of funny to see that same one that this makes me think of a little bit, because the design of it definitely looked more old school and vintage while being in the heart of like a city kind of area. So we're going to go up to the next floor. So here we go for this. This is the premium suite. And obviously, since the whole floor is dedicated to this, you know that it's definitely, like I said, more premium. So that is where you would come up the steps. You'd come through this door here. And you got the little bottle of water or wine or whatever you want to imagine that to be. And you've got the old school TVs, the nice lamp. This one also has a balcony, which comes out from that way and leads here. Obviously, you got the different color on this floor, and I don't know if that's to differentiate it as far as, the outside being green. You've got the nice huge bed with the chocolate on it, with the two little side lamps connected to the framing of the bed. So they're not even side desks or side tables. It's almost like part of the framing, which is kind of cool. At least in universe. I don't remember if it's built connected as one, but it's definitely in universe like that. You got the big comfy chair right there. And you got the big wardrobe set up as well, similar to how in the other room, the secondary above basic room had. And this one, there's no bar coming across in this one, but nonetheless, it's a lot of room there. And then you have the bathroom, which you could see as you walk in there. And you've got the tub with shampoo and conditioner, possibly, or whatever. You've got the toilet bowl, controls for the flush, and you got the toilet paper. And then you got a little carpet down there, and then you also have the mirror and the sink. The only flaw I would say is they didn't end up incorporating a sink spout or a faucet, which is funny because there's so much detail in this place. You would think that's something they would have put in here, and they didn't. But they even put a mirror here, which is like great. It's not completely reflective, but to some degree, so that was kind of cool. So yeah, this is the premium floor. Really nice job in how it's done. And you can see here on the outside aspect of it as well. So really cool. Another thing that's interesting too is, so on the bottom, on the second floor, you have the tan color like you see here, except it's on the mostly the bottom of it, of the floor, or like the center part. So it's like white, then tan, then white, and then coming up here you've got white again. So when you look at them like that, it's like this kind of consistency in the way it's flowing. So lastly, there's something that I wanted to point out before I put everything back together and whatnot, is I just wanted to talk about the set as a whole. So I really like this set. If you can get it on sale, because I don't think it's going to be around for that much longer anyway, but at least the base price is $200 now rather than $230, at least that I've seen on Amazon recently. And I don't think that that's necessarily a sale price. I think that's what's going to be now for like a long time, until probably the set retires, whenever it retires, because I don't know when it's going to retire. But already 2 years in a row it's been on sale. So I definitely would say that if you can catch this on a Black Friday or something like that, it probably will go on sale again. I might even buy a second one, and I'll tell you why. Because this is one of those sets where, unlike a lot of other sets, this one is set up in a way where I am pretty sure that you can just buy 2 sets and you can modularly expand on this thing without having to do any work. So what I mean by that is, if you were to have another set and you had 2 more of these floors, which I calculate adds up to about 60% of the set is the top 2 floors. You could get another set, build it up the same way, take the other second floor, the other pink, we're gonna call them the pink and the green, take the other pink floor, put it on top of this pink floor. So now you've got another floor. The stairs should work seamlessly to go straight up to the next level stairs, because they're designed like that. So you could literally put another pink floor on top of that pink floor the exact same way, and the stairs would line up correctly to go straight to the next floor. Now, after that, you could then put the green one on top of that, and then put another green one on top of that. Now, if you did that, the only issue is the second green floor is going to require you to build steps, and they're going to have to actually zigzag a little bit. So if I bring this into frame here, you would essentially need, hold on, let me get something that I can point with to make it a little bit easier. So you would essentially need to build zigzag steps. So you would probably have to put like maybe you could extend like maybe a piece of plate coming outwards this way. Just this portion here, because you don't want to cover up those. That's where people would come. But these three right here and come out this way. And then you can put a pair of steps right here. So if you put a plate that covered all of this right here, I don't know if there is a such thing as a flat plate that goes 3 by 6. But if you could, or modify something to equate that, it can't be too high because you don't want it to get to the point where it you know, there's too much of a step over this door. But if you could do just one plate high, it would still fit flush with that door, with the door frame. But then you would build spiral steps going upwards and then zigzag the same way the second floor one, the pink floor, has. And essentially, if you did that, you would put this green one on top of the pink floor. And then you would put another green one on top of it, where now you have the spiral steps leading to that. Now you got 4 floors of hotel room space, 2 suites and 2 basic floors of the pink one. Pink floor, 2 pink floors and 2 of the green floors. And you would then put obviously the roof on top, and it would be seamless, it would be flawless. It didn't require really any much modification at all. And there you go. You have an extended set. So if you catch the set on sale and you were able to buy 2 of them, now you have a larger hotel automatically. What would you do with the second base that's like this? Obviously, because you'd have 2 sets, you'll have a second base. And let me just stack this on here just to make some room. Okay, what will we do with the second base? So with nearly no modification at all, you could take this roof and it goes right on top. Now, the thing about it is, when you do this, hold on. Yes, so when you do this here, the only thing is that you would have to modify is this brick here and that brick here, which is it's double, would have to be moved here. So that way, when you lay it down on this thing, it's got something to hold on to. It doesn't have to be something too tight, but it just needs something to hold on to. Or you could take this brick and just move it that way. And that should probably solve it as well. Yes, you could just move that brick to that layer there. Essentially, the back piece is not it's not, the roof is not as wide of a profile or a footprint. So that part's not touching on the back, but it's still, it lines up to where you aren't going to see through the crack. The same here, it's not touching the side panel here. This one is laying on it because this one is 2 studs thick rather than 1 stud thick, and then it's laying on this part. So like I said, you don't really have to do any modification other than moving those 2 bricks around, this one and the one on the back side, so it could stay. That's it. It will still fit this kind of profile like that. Now, with that being said, this would be your leftover build, just like this. You would take this little sign off here if you want, and then pop another sign on it. You could pop on, like, say the art sign on it, make it a bigger art place. You could pop on, like I've have some other sets that have like the word cafe on them. Turn this into a cafe, fill it with cafe stuff, make it a cafe. Obviously, you won't have that steps in there anymore because those steps would have to be used for you to modify, like I said, for the last floor of the green one for the steps. So you won't have the steps there anymore. But this would essentially be your build. If you want, you could have something on top of this roof, or you could get rid of these steps and then just make it a straight wall like that. And, you know, that way it's just easier to pop this thing off. You turn this into a little thing too, if you want. Turn that into a little, what do you call it, coffee shop, if you want. Whatever you want to do with this could be a huge store, whatever you want it to be, a department store. It could be just whatever you want it to be. There's so many things you could turn into after that. And this will sit side by side or just in another part of your city away from your now 5-floor high hotel from the second set, and then this being your other just base set of whatever you have here. Like I said, it could be whatever kind of store you want to turn it into. And I know you could imagine this thing right here being empty with all that space and what you could do with that. Like, that would be amazing. You know what I mean? Obviously, you take a lot of this stuff out. You take, you know, all these kind of things out. This stairs wouldn't be here anymore. You literally could have like maybe a restaurant here if you want to do the restaurant route. You could do the a cafe route. Anything you could think of. There's so many different things you could do, and it would be nice, you know. And like I said, it's perfect for like a storefront because you've got the windows right there, so someone could walk by and look right into the store. You want to turn it, like I said, if you want to turn it into a cafe, it works great as that, as a Starbucks place. For example, I've reviewed on the channel before the Friends cafe set, because there really aren't cafe sets available. If a person had this second setup and you had this base like this, you could take that and there's a sign that says cafe, you could put it there. You have all the things to drop right on the inside to turn it into a nice cafe, except instead of having those bright colors of the Friends cafe, this is now your exterior, which looks great for like one of those kind of nice coffee shops where you could look inside and see a bunch of people in it. People are sitting down. It would work perfect for that. So I say that to say, buying 2 of these sets works so good to just modularly drop everything just right into place, and you don't need to do almost any mods in general for the framing at least, and then you have that. So tell me what your thoughts are, guys. Do you think that's a cool idea? Is that something you want to do? Also, stay tuned. I am going to do a video comparison of this and the tuna corner, only because I have the tuna quarter and it's just the only other modular I have. Not so much a verse in a sense of like saying one's better than the other, but just more just comparing the differences between the two, and probably a few other videos that I want to kind of like put together as well, and some other thought processes when it comes to this. All right, you guys, as always, you guys like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.